Hey there. Hello, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. It's the 80s, darling. Yes, it is. It is January the 24th, 1985. It's a Thursday. When I walk into Vino Veritas, I just called to say I love you by Stevie Wonder is playing on the radio. I always wondered if he just wrote that song hoping that the phone company would buy it from him later on for a commercial. I wonder. So Stephen is back in the office, and Eduardo and Donald are standing behind the counter. And Eduardo is just finishing up a sale of some sweet Hungarian Tokay to a little old lady with giant eyeglasses. Eduardo was always so sweet to the little old ladies. They loved him. Well, he was charming as hell and very handsome. Of course they loved him. And I want you to enjoy that wine, Mrs. Saborges. Oh, I will, Eduardo. Thank you, dear. And so off Mrs. Saborges he went. And when she did, Steve came up from the back, from the office. And he said, Harry, Eduardo, Donald, I'm going to refinish the basement. I want to transform the basement into a legitimate wine cellar. Yeah, now there's a lot of wine down there, and we've got to do something with it. So I found a storage facility up on 89th Street, and we've got to transfer all of the stock from the basement to that storage facility up on 89th Street. I need it to be clean and clear in the basement so that we can have a lot of room for all the construction that's going to be going on. And Eduardo and Donald and I just stood there blinking at him. He said, Michael will come in starting next week and moving all the stock from the basement to that storage facility up on 89th Street, and you guys can help him lug some of the stuff up from the basement. I said, we're going to refinish the basement? And he said, yeah, I want it to be more temperature controlled. Yeah, we got a lot of decent wines down there, and I want the conditions to be as ideal as possible. What we need is a consistent 55 degrees Fahrenheit. I said, refinish it how? He said, oh, everything, drywall, insulation, humidifier, everything the best. We're really going to do it up. I said, aha. What do you mean, we? And he said, oh, I got a construction crew coming in. Don't worry about that. I said, well, in that case, yay. And it was the next week when Michael came in and started moving the boxes from the basement. So I helped him move a few boxes up to the lobby, up to the main showroom. And he brought Margie's station wagon around to the Doris Day spot, and we loaded about a dozen cases is all we could really fit in the back. And so then Michael got out a blanket and put it over the boxes. He said, Stephen, don't want anybody to know what we're moving. I said, aha. And then he got in the car and poof, he was gone. Now here's the thing. Michael is not particularly efficient, and he only made one trip a day. And there are hundreds, literally hundreds of cases down in that basement that have to be moved. It is going to take weeks to empty out that basement to turn it into a wine cellar. I know. Well, meanwhile, I am working and living and breathing two jobs. I am always tired. My room temperature is depressed. I ride the bus almost every day, and I ride the subway almost every night. And the rest of the time, I'm either at work or walking to and from one job or the other, or delivering booze on the street for the other. Sometimes I walk home at night. You know that. I drink my way home. Well, sometimes I ride the subway so that I can get home a little bit earlier and get downtown a little bit sooner and start the drinking and the carousing. So that's what I'm doing one night. It's February the 7th, 1985. It's a Thursday, and I'm on the subway uptown from the Winter Garden Theater. It's a short ride from 50th Street to 96th Street, just 4 or 5 stops on the number one local, the Red Line. Yes. So I'm standing there leaning up against the thing, and I'm sort of swaying with the movement of the subway car. And I look over and I see across the subway car, there's a guy I know. And didn't I work with him? What? Wait a minute. What's his name? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. What's his name? And I'm looking at him. He's some old guy. He's got a white, short, scruffy sort of beard and glasses. He's comfortably dressed. And I'm looking at him going, how do I know this guy? I know him from somehow. Did I work with him? Was I in a show with him? Do I know him from the booster? How do I know this guy? And I'm staring at the guy, and I don't realize that I'm staring at the guy. But he even notices that I'm staring at him, and he looks over at me. And for a couple of moments, he and I are just staring at each other until I come to and I realize that I've been staring at the guy. And I'm shocked and I'm embarrassed. And so I do this. I go, oh, I mouth the word sorry. And he laughed at that. He saw me and he laughed at that. And then he goes, it's okay. And, that made my night. It did, a little, interaction with a stranger. And I realize where I know the guy from. It's Barnard Hughes. He's a legitimate star on Broadway right now, starring in the Tony Award-winning role of Da in the Tony Award-winning play Da on Broadway right now. Barnard Hughes. I know. And so I'm standing there, and he's standing there, and eventually his stop comes up, and I realize, because he walks over to the door, and I realize, wait a minute, he's just coming home from a show just like me. Broadway rides the subway together. It doesn't matter where you are in the hierarchy, from the biggest star to the lowliest merchandise salesperson. We all ride together like one big happy family. So anyhow, Mr. Barnard Hughes gets over to the door, and he looks over at me, and he smiles, and he does this. And so I waved at him, and I smiled real big, and I do this. And poof, he was gone. Now, here's the thing. Celebrity sightings and celebrity encounters, and this was sort of a hybrid of the two, but celebrity encounters and sightings are basically non-events. And this was sort of a non-event, but I got to tell you, it made me feel like $1 million. This, on the roulette wheel of famous people, was a win. Oh, yeah, and when I got home and went out to go out drinking, I had Irish whiskey that night. Yes, as an homage. All right, now it's the following week. It's the middle of February, 1985. Michael's has made a few more trips and everything. And apparently, as it turns out, there's something wrong with the storage facility up on 89th Street. So they can't use it anymore. And Stephen has to have Michael just start taking all of the cases and cases over to Stephen's house. And they're loading up Stephen's garage with cases and cases and cases of wine. All right. Now, here's the thing. Steve lives in New Jersey, a completely different sovereign state from the sovereign state of New York. Now, you may ask, is it legal to take over 400 cases of alcoholic beverages, wines and spirits, liquor across the state line? And the answer would be, well, not without a huge fee or an even bigger fine, or even worse. I know. So, that's why we had to put a blanket over those cases. Right, because essentially what's going on right now is that between Michael and Steve, aided and abetted by me bringing stuff up from the basement, are running basically a smuggling operation. I know. All right. So this goes on for a couple of more weeks. Michael is loading up the Margie station wagon in the Doris Day spot there. And oh, you'll never guess what happened. So I guess I'll have to tell you about it next time, won't I? So like and subscribe and share and comment. And thank you for coming along on this journey. I'm so glad that you're here with me, and I look forward to seeing you next time.